chart that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. I think it's been called like the startup curve or the Dunning-Kruger effect, whatever you want to call it. But basically it just kind of depicts visually what most people, when they either like have an idea, when they want to start a business, when they're learning a skill, it's just a process you go through in doing that. And I think a lot of it, like generally there's several different ones, but generally you start off with this kind of like, oh my God, like I have a new idea, this thing's gonna work out, like whatever. And then reality starts to set in like during that process. And I feel like we had moments of that last year, and we probably still are. Like it's complicated, but I feel like this scale is relative.
It happens on multiple scales simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. But there was parts of last year where I'm like, okay, the enthusiasm was hitting, but then I'm like, okay, reality's starting to hit in, but I'm still pretty high. Like I'm not going to stop. And then I think now we're getting closer to that valley of despair. I don't even think we're there yet, which is kind of scary, but I think we're getting closer to that valley of despair where we're like, shit, this is where I feel like people go broke. Like they lose all their money.
Right.
They're couch surfing. Nothing's working out. They're losing money or making no money at all. Like this is where I feel like the entrepreneur stories start to get dark. And I don't think everybody's looks the same. Yeah. But I do think it's kind of like a rock bottom, if you will.
Right.
But this rock bottom is like a rock bottom, but you are forced to still keep the vision in mind. It's forced to still keep the vision in mind. And I think that's the hard part. And I feel like we are kind of in that, like what another one is called like trough of sorrow. What makes it hard is the experimentation, because you're failing a lot in this period. Like things are not working.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that your general process isn't working. It's just that this is the part where you have to pivot because there's something you're missing that is not getting you to where you want to be. And this is where you have to learn it. Like you have to learn these things or you're not going to get there. Like everything, like I say, is a means to an end. This is the rite of passage. Like you have to get through it. And this is where it gets tricky. This is where emotions start to come up and you can let it consume you. But we're going to talk a little bit later about like how we've kind of like how to cope, like the routines that we've built to cope. But like, this is where the vision matters more than anything.
So what is this trough of sorrow or valley of despair? How does that look like for you?
For
recently?
Me, for me, it's been a lot better because last year and plenty of times when I failed at content, when I failed at so many other things, it's been so long and extended and woe is me and pity party and all of these things. But these days it's kind of like intense bursts of emotion because I'm a pretty delusional person. Like I can stay in my like, yeah, I'm a full-time content creator. I don't even need to make the money. I don't need to have the evidence. I know it's here. Like I have the vision already. But there's days where I'm just like, when you think something is so special and magnificent, like I think my ideas or things for San are so good. I'm like, this is so good. Yeah. And then I'll have one day out of the week where I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Like none of this makes sense. Like it's ironic because my company is built off of like the message that you should do things that don't make sense actually. But I'm like, this is so stupid. Who am I to say this? I'm not qualified to be somebody's life coach, motivational speaker, make them guides, teacher, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm not even there yet. I've never even gotten to this like destination I'm preaching about. I feel kind of imposter syndrome when I'm, making videos. But this is what I believe, right? Like this is who I am. This is obviously something I want to do because it's been in my head for so many years. But I look at my subscriber count. I look at my the tumbleweeds in my emails. Right. And like I just look at like how nothing is happening necessarily, like physically. And I'm like, is this really that good or am I just really gassing it up? And like I don't believe these things, but then I also do at the same time. And I feel like most entrepreneurs have to like have feelings like this because you can be in momentum and moving and pushing things forward. Like I'm making Instagram posts, I'm making videos about this and I feel good about it. I'm writing, I'm making ebooks, but then there's like these moments where you're just like, I don't know if I know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know if this is right because I've never done it before. And I think that's the kind of resistance with Dream Life is like, you've never done it before. So you don't know. You just have to keep going, not knowing, like, I don't know. I just feel a lot of like self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of imposter syndrome, and a lot of I guess this is where like insecurities can fester.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and one of my biggest insecurities is like, how come I can't ever get to the level of content creation I want to? Like, how come I can't ever attract an audience? How come I can't ever do this? Like, maybe I'm not that person. Maybe it was never meant to happen for me. Like, this is where the victim mindset starts to come in, and you start thinking like, oh, it's just me. You know, my life is this way, and this is why I don't get things. And it's easier, even though it doesn't feel like that's easy, it's easier to think that than to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Because figuring it out requires learning.
Yeah.
While complaining requires nothing. Like, you don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
You just complain about it.
Yeah. What does it look like for you?
I feel...
You're about to break down right now. Trying to start crying.
Honestly, I think if I were to sum it up, it's like, where's this even going?
Yeah.
You know, like, what's the long-term like play here? Like, what is this? Okay, I have this content, but realistically, like, how much can I make from content creation? You know? And like, it's kind of like, what's the strategy? And like, of course, most content creators, like, maybe 50% of their revenue comes from sponsorships, but like, at this point, I'm not getting, like, people aren't reaching out that I necessarily align with, you know? Yeah. And I don't want to just do sponsorships just to make money, because that like harms the brand. And like, because the moment you're doing something that's not aligned, it becomes work again. You know what I mean? It's like, then
there's no point in leaving your job.
Yeah, there's no point in doing this whole journey. Like,
so you
might
have
as well
to
go
do it. No, I like, sorry to interrupt. That's just like such a good point. It's like, that's the hard part. It's not like making money, I guess, or like, it's not like growing an audience. It's like growing the right audience, making the right kind of money that feels aligned. Because when we left our jobs, it wasn't just like leaving our jobs. It was like,
it wasn't leaving our jobs to make more money. It was leaving our jobs
to create a whole new life. Yeah. To create,
to do the things we want.
Exactly. Create a life that is aligned and intentional. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we get this all the time. Like, oh, you should try this. You should try this. You should try this. And it's like, we could totally do that. But like, and I've said this to Shine before, there's literally no point in blowing up our lives just to be surviving again. Right. Like, we need to be thriving. And that's the difficult part to design, because it's not just something like building a product that works, like building a product that blows you out of the park. Right. Like,
I mean, it works for your customer, but it also works for you. Like, that's the business you want to run.
Yeah.
Like, this is true in content creation, but it also applies to business. It's like, there's nothing worse than going viral for a post that you don't align with or you don't care about. It's like, let's just say, like, I make a post. It's like data scientist reacts to some, like, okay, so here's an idea.
Okay.
So there's that new OpenAI, like the video generation, text to video thing. It could be like data scientist reacts to this thing, like this this new AI technology, and like, let's say it blows up, and now people want that, but it's like, I don't care about just doing reaction videos.
Right, like, I want people to learn. I want people to.
I want to learn. I don't want to just like react to things.
Yeah.
I want to learn and kind of share my learnings with people.
Right. And that could be a part of a bigger strategy, but I think trying to like just, you know, capitalize and bank off of that, and that's your only way to reach people, that's when it becomes misaligned.
And then I think a similar things in business is like, you make like, you start doing a service, like let's say Gen AI services or something like that, like consulting people on that. It could blow up. There could be a lot of demand for it, but it's like, is that something I want to do? And it just goes back to doing unaligned work. Yeah. You know? And really the whole point of it is to get paid to do the things that you want to do, get paid to live.
Yeah.
Like, where's all this going?
Yeah.
You know, and
that's, I think, so hard to think about. I think
that's what it's all about. It's like finding the thing that provides other people value,
and
but
also yourself,
but also myself. Yeah. Something that's like intrinsically rewarding, and finding that overlap in the Venn diagram, you know,
that's really, it's really difficult. This is the thing, because we are doing a lot of aligned activities right now. I would say like literally 99% of our day is pretty aligned, minus distractions. And the thing is, we just don't know exactly how to monetize all those things in an aligned way. Right. Like, we're doing a lot of aligned things, but putting it together in a way that makes us money and also brings us happiness, challenges us, maximizes all parts of us. Like that's the kind of hard part where we feel like valley of despair vibes, because it's like, I know I'm doing a lot of cool things. I just don't know where it's all going. I don't know how it's going to fit into the bigger picture. How this can
be sustainable.
How can it be sustainable? Because our savings are running out. We're doing everything we love, but we don't know how to put it together yet in a way that makes us money and can sustain us continuously doing this over and over again.
Provides value to that other people. Provides value to other people and provides value to ourselves.
Us. And I think I feel that a lot, because I'm just like, I know I love these things, and I just believe that if I keep doing them and I keep putting my best energy, something will craft itself. And I know that can kind of sound like lazy and complacent in a way, but it's like, it's actually so much harder not to control the outcome. But I think anytime I've tried to control the outcome, it's always misaligned. It's always scarcity. It's always, it never feels right. But anytime I let go and just take a chance, I just believe in myself, like things just naturally form in a way. Because when you let go, I think you let the world, you let people tell you what they need from you. And I feel like that's so much more of a win-win than trying to shove a product down somebody's face, or shove something just because it's working, or you see other people do it but you don't really care about it. So I think that's what I feel a lot too. And then another thing is feeling really, because we're solopreneurs, we're doing everything ourselves, is feeling really bad at everything. Feeling like you kind of suck.
We suck at most things.
Most things right now we suck at. And to list a few, it's just marketing is a huge part of our career. Sales, copywriting, designing, sometimes even tech stuff, how to set things up, and operations, how to get more efficient at what we're doing, or is there things that we could change or fix about our schedule, or our performing at the routine and operation, increasing our energy levels, maintaining relationships. It's becoming a lot, and it's forcing me to get it together. I've had moments where I'm just I don't know, I don't know what to do, because I have people around me, they need things, and then I'm trying to figure out why I'm so bad at my job, and then I'm also trying to market myself, so I have to show up and be hey, I love everything, and it's just so many things. And when everything's kind of has a little fire and you're in the middle, you're I can see that everything is on fire, and I still have to keep going. And I think that feeling bad at everything can be very overwhelming. You sit in how bad you are, but you have to accept it, because there's nothing you can do right now other than just keep trying another day. And here's the thing, we allow ourselves to be so bad at a corporate job. Even though we I remember in my corporate job, I was I'm so bad at this. I was still like that, but I was more patient because it's not my company. I'm just I suck at this. I feel imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm never going to get good at this, but I just was you know what? It's Friday. I have to just.
You also had more cover because you had people
around me.
Yeah, you were in an organization. You were working on a team.
Yeah.
But I'll just say what the valley of despair looks like for me, perhaps more recently, is, I really had this idea that, okay, I'll make content. That's kind of the long-term thing, and it's a great way for me to learn, and I like to learn. So that's the aligned work.
Yeah.
Then the idea was, okay, I can do consulting. That's a good way to learn. That's a good way to kind of explore the business landscape of AI. And it's a way to make money, because that's kind of how I've done it in the past. Kind of doing it, I've seen the realities, all the,
oh my God,
you know what I mean?
This is such a good, yes.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the valley of despair, because you kind of come in with certain expectations, but then you start seeing the reality of it when you're doing it. And it's oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it would be, or, oh, okay, this is a part of it too. With consulting, a lot of it is this sales process. So before you sign the contract, there's this back and forth, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And I was just on this emotional roller coaster the past few weeks. Oh, they're really excited. They want to sign. Oh, okay. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I was oh, okay, no, they're serious. And then, so it's just this up and down, and then just developing this apathy almost. It's I can't ride this roller coaster. I just can't care if people want to buy the product or not, or buy my services or not, or work together or not. And so I think that's been a part of it. And then I thought the sales process would be more streamlined than it is. but it's kind of like a two-sided thing. Like, one, it's harder than I expected, but I also feel like I can develop systems that make it more streamlined and make it easy. So that's kind of what this whole valley of despair is like. You know, you like have this certain expectation, you interact with reality, get feedback, and
it's a lot more messy than you think.
And either that feedback kills you,
yeah,
or it's information, and you allow yourself to kind of like, okay, no, even though it's not what I expected, I can make these tweaks, I can make these changes, and then I can keep going forward. Like, so for me, you know, I had this process where it was like, okay, discovery call, and then let's jump into like working on a project, and then talking to other people and seeing how they do it. I've realized that there's a lot of utility in doing a paid discovery. So before working on the project and after the discovery call, you have like this 2 to 3 week period where you have like, you know, a specific process of talking to the client, learning about their business, learning about their product, learning about their technology landscape, their technology infrastructure, learning about their data, which is like all of what AI and data science is about, and kind of exploring that in a structured way. And at the end of that, coming with a set of requirements and deliverables for the actual project itself. And I think that helps tremendously. I can already see into the future that I implement this and I see some other problems with this process that I need to fix or optimize. And then it just brings me back to like, is consulting as aligned as I think it is, you know? Because if I'm spending all my time managing relationships with clients and trying to sell and trying to market, like how much time am I going to have to learn, you know?
Which is the number one point, like,
and
value.
Ultimately, like, I don't want to build a consultancy. So that's one thing that's in the back of my mind. It's like, if this is just a means to an end, like, does it really make sense to spend any time on it at all? Like, why not just jump to the thing that you want to do long term and then just figure out a way to make it work?
Even now,
And so that's kind of like part of the confusion. It's like
that's a huge part of Valley of Despair. Confusion beyond belief, and there's really not much you can do other than keep doing it and give it time. Like, and that's the struggle, because you have to be patient, knowing something's off, but you don't know exactly what. Be patient, knowing you're not good at something, but you feel like you could get better. Like, it's just this like back and forth.